befuddlement, although they could easily lip-read what she was saying. They could barely hear her past the ringing in their ears, and sidestepped out of her reach, just in case. A second blast went off, farther down the hall. A thud suggested that something out of sight had fallen down. Rehan thought snidely that some of the statues they had seen earlier would be improved by a few creative cracks anyway. The sprinklers finally kicked in, and a torrent of water rained down from above, drenching them. Rehan left the woman to fend for herself. "Where are you going?" she shouted after Rehan, loudly enough to be heard despite the damage to their hearing, as they sprinted toward the second explosion. "I have to save the painting," Rehan said over their shoulder. To Rehan's dismay, the woman pivoted on her heel and followed. Rehan turned their head to lip-read their words, almost crashing into a corner in the process. "You shame me," she said as she ran after them. "Your dedication to the arts is greater than mine." Another explosion. Lius, whose hearing was unaffected, was wheezing into Rehan's ear. "Dedication to the arts," she said between breaths. "Dedication, you." Rehan didn't have time for Lius's quirky sense of humor. Just because they couldn't tell a color wheel from a flywheel didn't mean they didn't appreciate market value. They'd just rounded the corner to the relevant gallery and its delicious gear collages when Rehan was alerted, too late, by the quickened rhythm of the woman's footsteps. They inhaled too sharply, coughed at the smoke, and staggered when she caught them in a chokehold. "What?" Rehan said, and then no words were possible anymore. Rehan woke in a chair, bound. They kept their eyes closed and tested the cords, hoping not to draw attention. The air had a familiar undertone of incense, which was very bad news, but perhaps they were only imagining it. Rehan had last smelled this particular blend, with its odd metallic top notes, in the ancestral shrines of a childhood home they hadn't returned to in 8 years. They stilled their hands from twitching. Otherwise, the temperature was warmer than they were accustomed to. Lius liked to keep the ship cool, and a faint hissing suggested an air circulation system not kept in as good shape as it could be. Even more faintly, they heard the distinctive, just out-of-tune humming of a ship's drive. Too bad they lacked Lius's ability to identify the model by listening to the harmonics. More importantly, how many people were there with them? They didn't hear anything, but that didn't mean. "You might as well open your eyes, Kel Rehan," a cool female voice said in a language they had not heard for a long time, confirming Rehan's earlier suspicions. They had not fooled her. Rehan wondered whether their link to Lius was still working, and if she was all right. "Lius," they sub-vocalized. No response. Their hearts stuttered. They opened their eyes. Might as well assess the situation, since their captor knew they were awake. "I don't have the right to that name any longer," Rehan said. They hadn't been part of the Kel people for 8 years, as the Kel reckoned it. But their hands itched with the memory of the Kel gloves they no longer wore. With their hands exposed like this, they felt shamed and vulnerable in front of one of their people. The woman before them was solidly built, dark, like the silhouette of a tree, and more somber in mien than the highly ornamented agent who had brought Rehan in. She wore the black and red of the Kel judiciary. A cursory slip of veil obscured part of her face, its translucence doing little to hide her sharp features. The veil should have scared Rehan more, as it indicated that the woman was a judge errant, but her black Kel gloves hurt worse. Rehan's had been stripped from them and burned when the Kel cast them out. "I've honored the terms of my exile," Rehan said desperately. What had they done to deserve the attention of a judge errant? Granted that they were a thief, but they'd had little choice but to make a living with the skills they had. "What have you done with my partner?" The judge errant ignored the question. Nevertheless, the sudden tension around her eyes suggested she knew something. Rehan had been watching for it. "I am Judge Kel Shiora, and I have been sent because the Kel have need of you," she said.